afternoon, barbecue brothers and sisters. It's Pete with Backdraft Barbecue, and we're coming at you today with a brief video on how to cook the best turkey you've ever had. Now, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a fresh turkey, could be frozen, could be fresh. We're going to show you how to brine it, which is the first step in making the best turkey you ever had. And then we're gonna show you how to cook it. And we're gonna use the big green egg for that, but of course you can use any smoker that you can get your hands on. You're gonna really enjoy this recipe quite a bit. Now, the first step, again, like I said, is brining. And what is brining? Well, brining is literally soaking a turkey in salt water for about 24 hours. Sometimes you can go a little more, some people go a little less. I found 24 hours as the sweet spot. So if we brine this turkey for about 24 hours, what you'll find is the turkey is extremely juicy and flavorful. And that's what we're going for. I mean, you dig into a turkey like the Griswolds, and that no one wants that. So this brining step is very, very important. In fact, it'll pay dividends, because if you accidentally overcook the bird but you brined it, you'll find the bird is still juicy and flavorful. So again, fresh turkey is the best, but in this case, I actually have a prime young turkey that was frozen, and I've been allowing it to defrost for about a day in the refrigerator. So it's partially frozen, but it's got a good smush to it. This is the perfect time to start the brining technique. So let's open this up. Once you've opened the turkey, you want to make sure before you throw away the wrapper to note what size bird you're actually cooking. This is 16.6 pounds. Why is that important? Well, if you've ever cooked a turkey before, you know there's a pound-time equation. The bigger the bird, the longer it takes to cook. Again, a lot of birds have the turkey timer thing that pops out. I actually don't see one on this one, which isn't a big deal. I like to cook with an internal thermometer anyways, but you need to know the size. So we're 16.6 pounds, 17 pounds. That'll give us a general ballpark. So our next step after taking the turkey out of the bag is we're gonna add it to some water. Now I've got a Cajun cooker pot here, and I've got it about, I don't know, 3/8 full of water. You wanna use warm water, and before you put the turkey in, we're gonna add the ingredients to this water. I first start with salt, and salt's obviously the most important. You can go with about a cup of salt per gallon. That'll allow the water itself to be rather salty. If you go too much salt, it's not actually gonna hurt anything, and believe it or not, the salt flavor from the water doesn't really transfer into the bird too much. You will get a little salty kick on it, but most of this is going to be washed off when we rinse the bird off after we're done. The other thing I like to do when I'm making my brine solution is I add some spices. So I'm adding some rosemary. Rosemary is a wonderful girl spice for this mixture. It adds a wonderful aroma and flavor. I'm also gonna add some basil. I wish that I had fresh basil, because fresh basil is amazing. We don't have that this time of year up here in the north, but the dried basil will work fine, especially for this. The next ingredient that I like to add to this is dill weed. And dill weed is essentially how they make dill pickles. It's got a wonderful smell to it, and this flavor transfers very, very good in the brine. In fact, I might even use a little of this on the bird tomorrow when I cook. But if you've ever had a dill pickle, you understand the flavor that this can give it. It's not gonna make your turkey taste like a dill pickle, but it's gonna add a very nice flavor profile.
Yes, your bub.
Now, the secret ingredient that I have found that makes the most amazing, wonderful turkey is bourbon. So I buy bourbon by the bulk, and I like to add some bourbon to this. What this does is it adds that flavor profile that bourbon is known for, that oaky, warm flavor. And by adding it to the brine, we're gonna get it into every section of the meat, because it's gonna soak for a while. If we were just to inject this in the bird tomorrow, it might work out. However, most of the time that flavor is gonna cook off, because we're gonna be cooking the bird for so long. Now that I got all this in, I'm just gonna stir it up and put the bird in. If you could smell this, you would be just blown away. The brine itself smells amazing with the bourbon and the dill. Ah, it's unbelievable. And in she goes. And what you're looking at here is the bird is mostly submerged in the water, and it'll be a little buoyant, obviously, but this is okay. We have the cavity of the bird in the majority of the water, and this will brine. So we'll see you in 24 hours. Hey, so we're back. It's been 24 hours. The turkey's been brining. We've got the egg going. It's nasty outside right now. It's sleeting. It's like 30 degrees. But inside this egg, it's a toasty 300 degrees.
Oreo whipping.
Your target temp on the dome temperature of the egg is going to be 275 to 300. And with a good lump of charcoal lit, throw some apple wood on there or pecan, whatever you got. The key here is not to over smoke it. You don't want to load the bed with a lot of wood to smoke because turkey takes on that taste really, really, really quickly. You don't want to over smoke, right? Now that we've got the fire lit and everything, like I said, put the convector down with the legs up and the grill on top. In between the grill and the convector, I have a cast iron pan that's to catch the drippings from the turkey. That'll make our pan gravy very, very tasty later on, super easy. And what I've done is I put a little water with a little rosemary in it just to kind of keep humidity going in the egg itself. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the bird out and we're gonna stuff the bird with some fruits that we have right here just to help out. And what I've got is I've got a bunch of apples and oranges cut up, which is really, really nice. So let me pull this down. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna fill the cavity, and we're making a huge mess, but that's okay, we're outside.
Yeehaw.
Now that we got this ready to go, and you can see I got the cavity stuffed a little bit, we're gonna put it right on the egg. And I'm gonna position it over the little pan that I have in there to try to catch most of the tailings that come off. And as a final thing that I like to do, which you can do later on, I just take some EVO, extra virgin olive oil, and I just kind of coat the top of it, because what that's going to do is it's going to crisp the skin up pretty good. And I let a little go into the cavity as well. Man, this looks so good, and it's not even cooked yet. All right, general rule of cooking, 275 to 300 degrees. It's about 10 to 12 minutes per pound, but you really have to just use that as a guideline, and you want to check the internal temperature after a couple hours to make sure it's moving. You're aiming, again, for the 275 to 300 degree mark, and this turkey being 16 and a half pounds, we're going to go about 4 hours with it, and we're going to check it at about the 3 hour mark just to see how it's doing. Burr, I'm freezing. I'm gonna go inside. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Okay, we have an internal temperature of 165. At the thigh, it's about 180, which is perfect. So we're gonna pull this off and we'll shoot more video inside. But man, does it look delicious. If you're interested in how to make a kick butt pan gravy, I'll show you real quick. If you're not, you can just fast forward and we'll carve the turkey in just a second. No. But basically what I did was I took my cast iron pan with no handle out of the turkey, off the convector that was sitting underneath the turkey, and I've got all this delicious drippings. So what you end up doing is you end up pouring that off into a pan, getting it hot so it starts to smoke, and it's similar to making a roux. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of flour, and you gotta be careful that it doesn't clump, and I'm actually gonna sprinkle it into this pan. You're gonna take a wire whisk, and you're gonna whisk it. Now that this is all whisked up and it's brown, wait until you start to smell like a nutty type flavor. That tells you the roux is cooked. The secret weapon that my mom always used, and I use as well, is this Gravy Master stuff. And all I like to do is put just maybe a teaspoon or so of it in there. Just like that. It really adds a good flavor profile. And then I like to add a little pepper. And then the secret weapon is some more bourbon. Remember, we brined the turkey with it. Now you gotta be careful, this is alcohol and this is hot. So we're just flaming off that extra bourbon, the alcohol. And then I take some chicken broth. And you gotta be really careful when you do this because this is hot and this is liquid. And what you'll see is this is actually thickening up quite a bit. See that? It's amazing to think because we just added the chicken broth to it, but it's like a catalyst when it hits the roux. And this gravy is like unbelievable. It's ready to go. So once we got our gravy done, we're gonna let it cool down for a minute. Let's carve some bird. All right, now let's cut into this and see what happens. Hey, what the heck? I'm trying to cut a bird. Okay, get out of my shot. Yeah, this turkey just basically falls right apart because it's so juicy and moist. Let's cut into this and see how it tastes, shall we?
Tastes delicious.
Oh yeah, that looks superb. Well, I don't know about you, but I am starving. I gotta dig into some of the fixins, put some gravy on this. I'll catch you on the flip side. Please be safe and remember, comment, like, and subscribe. We really, really appreciate it. Until next time.